In a city known around the world for power, there's another kind of strength that rarely makes the headlines. It lives in our neighborhoods, in our families, in the stories we carry, the struggles we overcome, and the hope we refuse to let go of. This is The People's Voice, DC, a podcast presented by Rising Voices of Politics, an organization committed to uplifting community voices and building people-powered change from the ground up. Founded by Reverend Michael Campbell, this space was created to honor conversation, connection, and the belief that every voice carries value. Yes, we talk politics because policies shape our daily lives. But this podcast is about more than politics. It's about community, about faith and purpose, about culture, creativity, and healing, about parenting, mental health, justice, resilience, and what it truly means to show up for one another. Here, parents, workers, organizers, artists, leaders, and everyday residents come together to share real stories and real perspectives, without pretense, without fear, and without being talked over. We don't chase sound bites. We don't deal in division. We create space for honest dialogue, thoughtful reflection, and conversations that move us forward, as individuals and as a community. Because change doesn't only happen in council chambers or behind closed doors. It happens in living rooms, in classrooms, in faith spaces, in neighborhoods where people decide they care enough to speak up and listen. This podcast exists to inform, to inspire, and to remind us that our voices matter in every area of life. So whether you're here for insight, encouragement, challenge, or connection, welcome to The People's Voice, DC. Let's talk. Let's grow. Let's rise together.
What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your boy, Pastor Mike. Hey, look, I am just excited about what is happening right now with Rising Voices, with the People's Voice DC. Listen, we have an awesome show coming up. We have an awesome show with Dr. Oye, our representative. Right now, he's running for council at large. He's backstage, and I'm just really excited about this conversation that we are about to have. Like, it's some great things coming this season. We've been gone. We ended our last season. We took a little break. It was holidays and everything. And we're ready to get fired back up. We're ready to get back going. As you can see, like, we got our new backdrop and everything for our shows. This is just one of them. Like, we got a bomb guest list going on. There's a bunch of exciting things that are coming forward. I'm actually looking at we are looking at partnering for hosting a candidate forum this coming spring. We're looking at hosting a fashion show. And so, like, just stay tuned. Make sure you check out our website. Make sure you visit us online, www.risingvoicesdc.org. Sign up for all the amazing things. Join our book club. Join out some of our outreach, some of our activism. Whatever you want, I'm sure you can find a place for you here. So let's get going. We have Dr. Oye. So here's the thing. This is going to be this interview is very unique in the way that how else can I say it? It lasted longer than expected. So I had to break this interview down into two different parts. So I'm going to get right to showing it. Then we're going to go into a brief intermission for a couple of minutes. Take a 2 or 3 minute break. Drink, if you're me, go get your Pepsi, get your M&Ms, and then come right back and enjoy the rest of the show. So I'm excited, and I promise you that you do not want to miss this. See you.
So, age 24, graduated my PharmD doctorate degree, and I moved to DC. And I know the privileges of having two parents that are scientists. They came here much because of the Civil Rights Act that folks, generational black folks, foundationally black Americans fought and died for. And I was able to benefit from those privileges. And my way of giving back was getting involved in classrooms, getting kids that looks like us into science careers because I knew the importance of early career exposure. And I was in that for years. And I was comfortable being the pharmacist and the volunteer, pharmacist and volunteer. And then one day, one of my patients, I was working at the Rite Aid, which is now Walgreens on U Street, my first job. One of my patients seemed to always come in with an entourage, always come in with a group of people. And I was wondering, like, what got you so popping, right? And she was telling me about being in the community. I'm like, well, how do I get in the community like that? It showed me about something called ANC. I'm sure you know, Pastor Mike, about the ANC, but I didn't know what it was. So she walked out of the pharmacy. I looked at my phone and I saw a South African political party. So I thought she was telling me to go back to Africa. I'm not even South African. So I was hot. I was mad. She came back about a month later, smiling and stuff. I'm like, you in this ANC thing? I'm not South African. She's like, what are you talking about? The Vice Neighborhood Commissioner. And I was like, oh, are you an ANC? She's like, no, I'm a council member. This is Brianna Nadeau. We're one council member. So I'm glad I didn't curse her out. But soon after, I moved to Ward 8, went to my ANC meeting, and quite frankly, I just didn't really like the way it was being conducted. Mm-hmm. There was not a lot of professionalism. The event was starting late. I felt like the audience was disrespected, and seniors were not being heard. They were not being listened to. They were not being respected. And in my background, that's a no-go. And I did what I did best. I talked trash about all the council, all the commissioners. I went one by one, like, this is not good. And someone turned around and said, you're so much better. Why don't you run? Mm-hmm. That's what started my political career.
Wow.
Living in Ward 8, knocked on a bunch of doors, kept knocking. There were people like, if you knock on my door one more time, I'm going to call the police. I'm like, you remember my name? Yeah, oh yeah. I'm like, good. So, and just kept working. And we ended up winning that race by one single vote. And when you win by one single vote, you remember every promise you made. You remember every complaint you heard. You remember how hard you worked to get to that point. And my goal was to keep that energy in office and make sure folks who voted for me didn't regret it. Just going above and beyond. So we helped professionalize the ANC. We did more classroom programs in Ward 8 schools. We brought speed bumps and red light blinking lights in our communities to make road safety a lot much better. And long story short, we saw the bar and we raised it. Mm-hmm. And through happenstance, through just jumping through into any opportunity, I decided to get involved in the DC statehood fight by joining a DC vote lobbying day. I'm a Bostonian at the time. I knew nothing about statehood, but they offered free lunch. So I'm like, I'm going to be there. I'm hungry. So we go, and we were talking about racial justice. We were talking about equality for DC residents. We were talking about all these things, but there were not a lot of black people in the room. Mm. And a few black folks in the room didn't live east of the river. I mean, maybe Stuart Anderson was there, but I can't remember another black person that lived in Ward 8 and beyond. So I figured if I couldn't get my neighbors to Congress, maybe I can bring Congress to my neighbors. Mm. And we brought Congresswoman Norton to my ANC in 2019. And she was talking about federal legislation. She was talking about the district jurisdiction versus the other jurisdiction. And she talked about her life, her work. And I just caught that bug. Mm. Soon after, the representative role opened up. We call it shadow representative because DC is not a state. And it was like, why not us? You know, and we ran not just for black folks, not just for Ward 8, not just for Nigerian Americans, but really that fight for DC and that new energy, new blood into this movement. And by the grace of God and by good people like Michael and the rest of DC, we were able to get there. And just like being an ANC commissioner in terms of just stepping up and beyond what's asked for, we did just that. We've done immigration services and pop-ups earlier this year with town halls with immigration attorneys for folks who are concerned about the incoming Trump administration. We did expungement clinics to help returning citizens learn how to get their records cleared and get free legal resources, or just someone to listen to them when they're talking about the issues that they face on an ongoing basis. We had business workshops for mostly minority business owners, living a lot of times east of the river, teach them how to get grants, contracts, certifications, ways to level up at scale like other communities do, or like people outside the district do. And just trying to do things that improve the quality of life of DC. So you didn't ask me this just yet, but long story short, some of the same people we've been supporting throughout the years were saying, oh, yeah, we need you to have a bigger local impact. We need you to run for council because, we've helped people who otherwise don't get seen. We are making differences in an office that doesn't have voting power. Mm-hmm. And having the ability to vote on local legislation, to provide oversight over healthcare issues like Fletcher Johnson and other things we're going to be talking about shortly, and also have power over the budget to make sure that the needs and the values of DC are being spent on and is aligned with the people like Pastor Mike and folks who really see where change happens, but oftentimes are in the shadows, is what propelled me to this point. And I'm really excited to share this. I'm really excited to share this life work, but more importantly, I'm really excited to share the values of oftentimes the folks who are left behind or the change makers who just do it by themselves. And we're seeing too many people that's part of the chosen crew. We've seen too many people that's part of the good boys, get along, go along, part of the Christmas list, get all the opportunities, and now everyone else don't get much. And it's just time to end that.
I agree. It's definitely time to end that. It's kind of been a theme for this year. I don't know, but why not us? I'm a college football fan and an NFL fan, and so a couple of teams I've been following have developed this theme of why not us? And so I feel like that for DC. Why not us? Why not us? It's definitely our turn. We have waited so long to get our fair share. So why not us? Before we get started into the meat, should I say, of things, that's my preacher talking, into the meat of it, I do want to remind us, because you just reminded me, you are a pharmacist by nature. And this time of the year, I'm working in the education field. And this time of the year, there's things going around. So I want to remind us about RSV. You see the graph on screen. It says, what is RSV and who is at risk? RSV is a respiratory virus that's very common during the fall and winter. To many, it may seem like a cold, but it's more contagious and potentially dangerous for seniors and infants. So if you're experiencing any symptoms like runny nose, a decrease in your appetite, you're coughing, sneezing, have a fever, or you're wheezing, please call your doctor. The website is listed that you can visit for more help. If you have insurance, a lot of times you can check with your insurance companies and they can put you in the right direction. But I encourage everyone. As a man, I know some of us guys, we don't like going to the doctors and we don't like getting our checkups, but we have to take care of us so that we can help this fight for everybody else. If we're not at our best, then it's hard to be to have your full arsenal when going to war on behalf of those that we advocate for. So, Mother Oye,
Yes.
Another hot topic that's going on right now is the ranked choice voting.
Sure.
There's a graph to kind of help the people along of how this is working. You kind of rank who will be your first choice, who will be your second choice, who will be your third choice, and so on. This is something that I believe, in my opinion, was successful in New York City,
right?
Where we see our current new city mayor. Is he sworn in now? Yeah, I think he's sworn in now. Yes. He's been sworn in now. And so we feel like it can make a difference in DC. I know when I was a part of the National Action Network, I definitely was supportive of the Reverend Al Sharpton and all of the work that was being done in New York City,
right,
to bring about ranked choice voting. I definitely was a part of the move to push it and help it be passed here in DC, not by council, right, not by the mayor, but I must stress by the people right here in DC. However, the council and the mayor have been trying to find ways to delay it.
Right.
And as much as I love my council member, even my council member has tried to kind of fight the fight against ranked choice voting.
Right.
DC politics. You see the article right here I posted. Is DC ready for ranked choice voting? It's moving forward. An effort to delay the implementation of ranked choice voting until 2027 failed at the DC Council on Tuesday, and the new voting method is moving full steam ahead. What is your thoughts and opinion, or should I say, what are, I work in education, your thoughts and opinion on ranked choice voting?
Right, and as you mentioned, I'm a scientist, and we think very scientifically. By the way, you should be a pharmacist. By the way, you plug that RSV. I felt threatened over here. I was like, "You're gonna take my 2 jobs." But more importantly, when we talk about initiatives and ideas like ranked choice voting, we first had to go back to what the root problem is. Right? Traditionally, we had council members winning with 22% of the vote, 28% of the vote, winning by 10 votes or so, or less than 0.5%. And they fall well under 50% of the majority of the voters. And we see in other states, whether it's Republican red states or Democratic blue states, having runoffs, whether it's Georgia, whether it's Illinois, whether it's Texas. And oftentimes the person who comes in second place can actually leapfrog their way and win the end of the runoff election. And what that does is bring forth new candidates, new leadership, that folks who are in office that may not have the support of the majority of their electorate still skate through with 30%, 35% and beyond. So at the very least thing, we need our candidates to win with the majority vote of the people. Not enter ranked choice voting. It's a single runoff system. Some folks are a little bit confused by it, but in my opinion, DC is some of the smartest people in the country. We have seniors that rank their healthcare. We have parents that rank their schools. We have kids that understand how to put things in order. And I believe that with mail-in ballots, it provides a tremendous opportunity for education. We're talking about 75% of DC votes before the election day. That means they may have a ballot in their house for a month and a half to figure out how to rank people. I believe that in conjunction with the Board of Elections, with mail-in ballots, and people like me, because you better believe all my voters know how to rank me first, not rank me fifth. That is really, really, really going to make sure that there is less confusion. Now, I know folks like Bob King is worried about seniors, folks who have certain disabilities, they're in a divergent community, but I do believe that with time, with energy, and also with attention and with a lot of true information, not misinformation, we can actually get the best results for it. Because at the end of the day, there are going to be opportunities to educate people. Most importantly, we need candidates and we need elected officials that can move with the confidence of having the majority of support. We can't allow special interests to choose. We can't allow incumbency to choose. We need the people to choose. And I believe ranked choice voting with yours truly, Pastor Mike. I know Miguel was heavily involved. My sister from another, Lisa, was involved, Lisa Rice. But a lot of people all across the state from different backgrounds were involved in this. And most importantly, 73%, every single ward voted for this initiative. So the very people that some folks are concerned may not understand ranked choice voted for ranked choice voting. And I think that's really important to point out. This isn't an us versus them. Every precinct voted for this. Every ward voted for this. People from different demographics voted for this. And a Black woman spearheaded this effort in Lisa Rice in Ward 7. So I think it's important for all of us to trust the voters.
Shout out to Ward 7.
We need to trust the voters that will make this right, but also give it a chance as well. Because, like I said before, people should choose who the elected officials are, not the chosen few.
I like that. And I totally, let me say this. I personally Totally agree with those sentiments. The Rising Voices of Politics is definitely a nonprofit organization. We aren't endorsing
Sure.
anyone, but personally, I definitely agree with those sentiments. I personally am a supporter of ranked choice voting, and I believe it will make a huge difference for the future of DC politics overall, the future of DC. And I believe we're going to see that very, very soon, starting this year, not 2027, this year.
Yeah.
Push it back to a year that we won't have a major election is insane when we have 3 new council members potentially and a new mayor, even new representatives.
Yeah.
This is why push it back to after.
Yeah.
This is the one that we actually needed for.
There's gonna be special elections in 2027.
It's going to be a special election for at large. Yes.
It is going to be. I mean, whether the congressional race shakes out, there might be, Pinto's running out of Ward 2.
Yes.
Running at large. We have Kay McDuffie, who just resigned, I believe, yesterday.
Yeah.
Now is facing their own. I mean, there's going to be a special election on primary day for the independent, and then a general election. So they're almost going through the same process as Dems and Republicans. So it's a very big year in 2026. But not to cut you off, after the year that we had in 2025, we need a new direction. Trump really exposed the vulnerabilities of this city. I mean, we had our money frozen during the summer. We had to rip up Black Lives Matter Plaza. We had council members who were afraid to walk the streets with you and the people. We just couldn't rest on yesteryear. I mean, we had tens of thousands of DC residents illegally fired from the federal jobs without cause. And we had a budget that didn't answer to any of that. We had enough money for $1 billion stadium. The president has enough money to bomb Venezuela. He has enough money to bomb Nigeria, but he doesn't have enough money to fix our healthcare situation, our infrastructure. He doesn't have enough money to have clean water. And these are the kind of values that are on this ballot. Do we try to go along with the president out of fear of losing home rule, or do we show the rest of the country that that we can fight for ourselves and we deserve to have them fall along our side? That's what's on the ballot.
Wow. Now that was powerful. And that is actually a great time for me to just speak up, raise your voice, dream big, fight hard. If you are interested in joining us, our organization, if you have a thought of, hey, look, I think I might run for office, but I just don't know how to get started. I don't know what I need to do. I don't know what the process is. Maybe I just have an issue that I wanted to rally around. I want to be a part of making a change in this particular area. Listen, join us. That's our website, risingvoicesdc.org. You can email us at connect@risingvoicesdc.org. Make a difference. That's what we are all about, is making a difference, not just being that guy outside or that lady outside on the street who is complaining, not understanding that they have the power themselves to be that change, to make that change. So believe in yourself and raise your voice. And most of all, make sure you vote. You have to vote. Don't say that your vote doesn't count. We didn't go over this yet, but my brother won the election. He started off winning by one single vote. I mean, one single vote. So make sure that you vote. Your vote surely matters. Now let's get into the meat of your campaign.
Sure.
I want to start off talking about education. I was going over some things and I saw some of your proposals and some of your promises and some of the things you were saying.
Right.
Number one, free tuition at UDC. Free tuition at UDC, folks. That's what Doctor is talking about.
Right.
Free tuition at UDC. He said he will strengthen neighborhood schools by expanding after-school programs, investing in community schools that provide tutoring, nutrition, mental health care, and literacy support, and increasing school funding east of the river. He will invest in youth and adult literacy programs through schools, libraries, and community-based providers. Here's a big one for me. He will remove police from DCPS schools and invest instead in counselors, nurses, and social workers. Can you expand on this path forward without debt?
Yes. So one thing, and I'm going to get a little scientific here. One thing that is a shortcoming of the pharmacy industry is that we have medications that treat symptoms, but it doesn't always look at the holistic part of the body, right? So there's side effects. So if you give someone blood pressure medication, now they have a headache. Now you're going to give them headache medication. Now they have a heart. So now you're giving 4 medications for the same issue. And analogous to that is our education system compared to every other public safety, nutrition, things like that. And as an educator yourself, Pastor Mike, you understand there's so many variables that impact a young person's ability to learn. Whether they're hungry, whether they have broadband at home, whether they have a clean street to walk past, whether they feel safe. And a lot of times we throw our money into silos. We invested a lot of money in the recruitment of officers, but not into making sure college is accessible to everybody in DC. So we're creating school to prison pipelines, but not creating elementary to college pipelines. And you understand that the cost of college education is skyrocketing. When my parents came to America in the 1970s, my dad was able to work a summer job and pay for his fall and spring semester with that summer earnings. And I think he made like $6,000. It wasn't like he made $100,000 in that summer. And we're seeing the wage stagnate while the cost of production go up. And I believe that if you really want a young person's life to improve, they got to go through college. May not graduate, there may be other alternatives, but going through college is important. It's not just good for the economy, it's not just good for that person's self-esteem, it's also good for our public safety, because every single year somebody's in college reduces their risk of committing a violent offense by 10%. Without graduation, so 2 years, 20%, 3 years, 30%, blah, 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 blah. Now that's just violent crime. That's not like white collar crime. But when most people are concerned about public safety, they're thinking about violent crime, the stabbings, the robberies, the shootings. So yes, this is money for education, but it makes our community safer on the back end. That's why we don't have more police officers in Potomac, Maryland than they do in DC. You know, they're talking about the reduction in our police force, but we're the most police jurisdiction in America. We have U.S. Capitol Police, we have MPD, we have college police, we have school police. We have so many different polices in D.C. that we're still being policed pretty hard. And to invest in young people to make sure that they don't have a lot of college debt allows them to create businesses, allow them to earn a career that can help keep their family in place. It allows them to stay in D.C. for the long haul and not just make that money and move it to PG County. PG County is only doing well because that's D.C. money from the federal government going there. We need our money to stay here. We need people being able to afford to be here. And making UDC tuition free is that investment in a young person. Also, more nurses, more psychologists, more social workers, more people to not only take care of these young people, but also show them an example where they can be in the future. For the past 12 years, I've been going to elementary schools, tricking kids into liking science, putting them into white coats, giving them gloves, giving them goggles, calling each other doctor. Because if they could see it, if they could feel it, then they could be it. And I'm usually the age of their parents. I give them handheld experiments to take home to their parents so they can relive it. But I'm also tricking them into learning college level material. So by the time they get to the 7th, 8th, and 9th, or 10th grade, and they see it again, they're going to be extra excited because they did it in the 1st and 2nd grade. And I've been volunteering all throughout DC, Ward 1, Ward 2, even Ward 7, Ward 8. A 3rd grader is a 3rd grader. And the achievement gap doesn't show until later years. I believe personally, not only because of data, but because of my own life, that early career exposure is the key to getting these kids on track. If a kid knows that they want to be a pastor or a media person like Pastor Mike, then their day-to-day decisions will change. They're not just going to be out on the street all day just doing nothing, because now they know in order to become Pastor Mike, in order to become a change leader, in order to become a thought leader, in order to have your own platform, I got to be around doing other things. And we spend a lot of money on our kids. We don't spend a lot of time with our kids. And I believe that, yeah, a budget may not show time, but our moral code, and we need certain elected officials who will make it easier for that talent to go into these classrooms and get these kids interested in something so they can get themselves self-guided. I'm sure, Pastor Mike, you've been guided into certain things because none of this stuff is possible without that vision. We're here trying to create that vision, especially for kids that look like us, some kids that in this communities, even some white kids in other areas, just exposing them into some of these experiences, allow them to say, that's the path I like, or even more importantly, that's the part I don't like. Let me find something else. But getting that wheel moving, I think, is a huge opportunity that we sometimes miss here in DC.
I agree. I definitely agree, and we definitely need to do more. Now, I wanted to kind of dive more into the investing more into schools east of the river.
Yeah.
It's not so much of a debate east of the river, of course, but I do run into folks who may say live in Ward 3 or live in Ward 1, and it's like, hey, it's not fair. We need to put the same amount in all schools, and that's how it should be. And I'm like, well, we need the schools to catch up to each other first.
Sure.
You know, we need schools that have been lacking, that are kind of underserved, we need to get all the schools up to the same level, and then we can divide those shares equally. So can you kind of expound on your thoughts of why we need to invest more east of the river?
Well, I think the investment east of the river is not only important, but it's also practical. You know, if people, and I've started to have conversations with people in Ward 2 and Ward 3, and they get it. If the problem isn't contained and handled in Ward 7, Ward 8, it's going to come to your neighborhood. Right. So when they were ignoring the grocery store closures because of theft, they started realizing a lot of that theft is coming up this way. Because the reason why a lot of those problems don't get to your neighborhood it's just because they haven't gotten to your neighborhood yet. So it's really important that we all are part of this together. And unfortunately, with the Ward 7, Ward 8, we're not only east of the river, we're also east of the 95. So there are barriers for us to get up there for positive things. And when it comes to investment in money or shopping habits, we see a lot of people living in Ward 7, Ward 8, shopping in Ward 2s and Ward 3s and Ward 5s. But you don't see a lot of those Ward 2, Ward 3, Ward 5s coming down to Ward 7, Ward 8. So there's definitely an opportunity to invest and bring some opportunities to bring some cultural hubs, some shops, some kind of business for people to pour down into. But also, more importantly and ethically, we have to even the playing field for folks. Because when everyone has a shot, when everyone has a true opportunity, everybody wins. This is a completely separate topic. I hope you allow me to go there with this. I was talking to a lady, Meyer. She lived in Mount Pleasant. And she was asking me about accessibility, like folks who are handicapped. And she talked about certain buildings that didn't have a ramp. She talked about the streets that didn't have the cutoffs for the ramp up to go up that way. And although those are usually for folks in wheelchairs and folks who are handling with disabilities, everybody's life improves by having those. You have people with strollers. You have people who just want to go up a way. You have people, it might be snowing something, you want to shovel it quickly. Everybody's life improves when you take care of those who need it the most. Same with this. As I said before, we have to also look at how we're using our current money. We can't just tell the wealthiest people in this country, in this city, give more, give more, give more, without focusing on how we're spending. Right now, we're spending a ton of money on our rec centers, but we're not spending enough energy on finding what these kids want to do. We have kids fighting outside, and these rec centers are empty. Hell, let them fight inside. At least as an adult to stop it. Like, we gotta do something with our planning because we're asking kids what they want. They tell us what they want. We have one event that's successful, and the rest of the 300 days, the place is empty. It's just, if you walk in, it'll be me, you, and some DPR staff. We got to get kids back into these locations, especially as we're spending $20, $30 million every 5 years on each location. That's money we're already spending. So if we can optimize what we're already spending on, then we can figure out how we can share those resources better. We also have to look at Out of School Time Act. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. There's a fund from the mayor's office. They basically provide nonprofits funding to go into these schools, usually between 3 to 6 o'clock, engage young people and make sure they're out of trouble and they're a safe place and there's enrichment. We need more funding for it. I mean, my guy Jimmy Williams, he talked about how Washington Literacy Center was divested from. We can't have that. At a time where you're seeing so many young people not reading at age level or grade level, and then you look at our prisons, there's so many people that have dyslexia, aren't reading well. We see the clear opportunity to get people's reading higher so they can make more money, they can have more self-confidence, and generally be better citizens of our community. Those are things we need critical investment in. I mean, this is data, this is science, this is also morality. And being a healthcare worker, I believe that these things are simple. You just got to care.
Yes.
You just got to put the time in. And for the science enrichment stuff, that doesn't cost $1. I go in for free, and I won't stop as a council member. And I know what it's like to grab all my friends who owe me favors who are in science because I'm like, come with me to Anacostia High, come with me to Ann Beers. And they do it. And when we have an easy system for folks to give back, it allows us to make a difference outside of the pocketbook. Sometimes you just got to think a little bit smarter. And we have all the talent in the world in Ward 7, Ward 8. I mean, you've knocked on doors and saw who your neighbors were. They can all give back and help this city move forward.
Yes, that is so true. And I gotta say I actually work in a school and participate in the 3 to 6 window for the out of school programming. And don't get me wrong, we have great support. We're shown a lot of love. So I'm not speaking on behalf of my school or anything. Right. But I can say from my own personal experience and from other people that I know that are in the same fields experience, listen, we need more funding.
Yeah.
You know, that's just not to say our school needs more, but every school, a lot of the schools east of the river especially, we need more funding. A lot of educators and staff members are literally pulling out of their own pocket.
Yeah.
To help make a difference in these kids' lives. And in this city, it's not easy to pull out of your own pockets when you have a crazy housing situation where rent is skyrocketing. You wake up the next morning and it seems the rent has gone up another $100.
Yeah.
You know, you wake up 2 weeks later, your electric bill has gone up another $100. So it's like, hey, you know, not to mention gas and energy. You mentioned shopping. I wish that I can go buy a nice outfit in Ward 7, but where am I going? Where am I going? Yeah. So I mean, forget outfit. I wish I can go buy a decent bag of groceries. Without my personal how I felt a bad customer service experience on Minnesota Avenue. Mm-hmm. Where else am I going to go and buy a bag of groceries?
Right.
And so it's these things are much needed, man, and it kind of goes hand in hand. I feel like with when we talk about our children, as we started off with, it kind of goes hand in hand with our crime rates. It kind of goes hand in hand with how we're addressing them in our education field, how we're addressing them in our housing. All of these things are related, and we got to stop separating them and taking on them as these are issues that are all related to one another. It's not just a separate issue. Housing is related to our children and education. I know how students that are unhoused are affected in the classroom.
Right.
I know how students who are malnutritious are affected in the classroom. Right. And so these things have to be taken care of, bro. And so I appreciate you acknowledging that.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate you bringing that up. And I want to go on a little tangent. I just saw a study today that showed that DC birth rates are lower. Right? And you're seeing the cost of goods. I mean, single people can't even date in DC no more. Like, I was out on a date one time. I was thinking about how I was doing the crunch. I was like, man, this ain't gonna work for me. I'm like, I looked through my numbers. I'm running for office. I lost my income. I'm like, girl, I can't. And we laugh about it to keep from crying, but when you're talking about owning homes,
I told a girl, schools. I told a lady, do not judge me. But Netflix and chill. You know, I know.
I don't have Netflix no more, bro.
And chill.
I have Netflix, man. I'm watching YouTube with commercials. I mean, it's serious. I'm watching Deion Cole spice up every 10 minutes, man. Like, babe, don't worry about it. I'll click after 5 seconds. Like, it's getting to the point where the quality of life of everybody is going down. It's not just those who are experiencing housing instability. It's basically everybody who's not a billionaire. And we can't have the haves versus the have-nots. When my dad and mom moved to this country in the 70s, keep going back to that time. Middle class was, the median income of medium middle class is $50,000 per family household. Today, that spending power is $420,000. Mm-hmm. The federal poverty for a family was $18,000. Today, that's $150,000. Mm-hmm. So if you're in a household that makes less than $150,000, if you're making like $70,000, $80,000, you feel like you're falling behind, it's because you are.
Wow.
And the people who are making $400,000, $300,000 that think they're wealthy, they're actually really middle class. And when you're seeing the wage gap and how that's affecting people's quality of lives, you have to think about that number and realize I'm not crazy. You know, and one of the things I'm really also trying to do by getting these young kids into science careers is increasing the wage of the family. Because I know what happens when somebody becomes a doctor in the family, when a kid becomes a lawyer in the family. I was the fourth of 5 kids. I was the first pharmacist in my family. But now my younger brother is also a pharmacist. He could have done it without me, but he probably needed that exposure to do it himself. And I've been able to pay off my parents' house. I've been able to do a lot of great things. If we have some of these kids in Warsaw where they having these careers, now they can take care of grandma. Now they can take care of mom and dad. And they'll be less reliant on the government because they know they have Mike's little brother take care of things. That's what we need. Because if we don't develop the neighbor while we develop the neighborhood, we're going to continue to have so much displacement in the city because people won't be able to keep up.
Right.
The problem isn't just things are getting more expensive. It's the fact that our wages are not increasing immensely. Mm-hmm. Imagine if every person in D.C. had an extra $100,000 in their paycheck. You know what I'm saying? The quality of life will go high. The crime will go down. People have different options, and they will be stimulating the economy a lot better than it is right now. We just need to have elected officials and lawmakers that give a damn. That's not thinking about the next 3 years, but thinking about the next 10, 30, 40 years. Because we can actually keep folks here, keep them paid, and not drive them out just because we want to have a new stadium.
Now, if I could kind of repeat what you said, I'm that unorthodox preacher over here, so just give a damn. I'm glad that you mentioned just give a damn. Because one thing that has always been dear to my heart is environmental justice.
Yes.
And I've always felt in that particular area, we are largely ignored, very misinformed and uneducated.
Yeah.
And I mean, just something as simple as a study that shows living east of the river decreases your life expectancy by 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's heartbreaking. Yeah. That's heartbreaking as someone who, like I said, I grew up Potomac Gardens, moved to Ward 1 on 14th Street, and now I am east of the river. And it's like, well, God, am I taking some years off by doing this? You know, like it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. And so I appreciate that you are looking at some things that's going on. One thing that I always talk about it, and most of the DC talk about it, is we have a huge rat problem. What are we going to do about this rat issue? I've gone over to police officers while they were just in their cars just running, and I'm like, you know, this is idling.
Yeah.
And usually the officers are very rude. A lot of times they don't even know what idling is.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we're allowed to do this because we're the police.
Right.
If there's an emergency, we have to be able to just push the gas. And I'm like, I don't think that was the case when, you know, I remember when the law passed. Yeah. You know, so, but even a few years back when I ran for office, I did a poll
Yeah.
a local poll, not on anybody's budget, don't you? not on anybody's, not on anybody's funds or anything.
Oh, the PTSD.
You know, no shade,
Yeah.
but not on anybody's funds. But I did a poll, and I was trying to just get to learn my Latino X community a little bit better.
Sure.
So what's most important for them? And the number one thing that came up, this was 4 years ago,
Right.
was environmental justice.
Yeah.
And I was completely surprised.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is very important, not only to the Latino X community, but the poll for younger voters between 18 and 25. Environmental justice was at the top of the list.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at some of your plans, some of the things you're talking about,
Yeah.
more so criticizing, should I say, but being honest about.
Yeah.
DC residents continue to live with polluted air, plastic
Absolutely.
waste, and waterways burdened by decades of neglect. East of the river face higher exposure to heat, flooding, and environmental hazards while receiving fewer protective investments. Children,
Right.
and I know this to be true, suffer from asthma
Yeah.
and respiratory illness linked to unhealthy housing, while public dollars are spent treating illness instead of preventing
Yeah.
it. We must be proactive and not reactive.
Absolutely.
The district allows new fossil fuel infrastructure that locks residents into higher costs and long-term harm. Funds meant to lower energy bills and improve health have been diverted away from their purpose, delaying progress and breaking trust.
Right.
Climate change is already affecting daily life, but the response remains uneven, slow, and disconnected from the communities most impacted. Talked about your views, your thoughts, and your plans on our environmental justice.
Pause real quick. If you're from DC or you love DC, this one's for you. Welcome to the People's Voice DC, a podcast where the city speaks for itself. Not just politics, not just headlines. We're talking real life, community life, DC life. From the metro rides to the murals on the walls, from classrooms to corner stores, from church basements to community meetings. This is where conversations actually happen. We talk about what matters: housing and money, mental health and healing, culture, music and creativity, faith, purpose, and finding your way, relationships, parenting, and growing up in the city. Yeah, we talk politics too, but only because policies affect our everyday lives. This show is presented by Rising Voices of Politics and founded by Reverend Michael Campbell with one goal in mind: give the people the mic. And when we say the people, we mean everybody. Young folks with big ideas, creatives with something to say, parents holding it down, leaders in the making, and anyone who's ever felt like their voice didn't matter. Trust, it does. No fake debates, no talking down, no boring energy, just real conversations, good vibes, and perspectives that feel like home. Catch us live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. on YouTube and social media by searching The People's Voice, DC, or Rising Voices of Politics. Miss the live show? It drops the same night at risingvoicesdc.org, and you can listen anytime on Spotify. So whether you're on your phone, in the car, in the dorm, or just trying to feel connected, tap in, tune in, and be part of something bigger. This is The People's Voice, DC, the city, the culture, the conversation. And yeah, the people got something to say.